Can you comment on sunscreen then and its impact on whether it's blocking near infrared or just red light, or is it just blocking UV? What would you say about that?
Well, most sunscreens are designed to block ultraviolet light. The story is more complex because vitamin D comes from ultraviolet B, and there's also ultraviolet A, which primarily promotes more of a tanning effect. And so some of these sunscreens are designed to block UVB, but let UVA in to facilitate tanning. So that's sort of one aspect of things. Some block all the range of ultraviolet light. And others also create a film on the surface of the skin that really blocks probably all the visible spectrum of light. Okay, so there's a distinction between those that really create like a layer of stuff on the skin. So I actually use sunscreen on my face only, and only when I surf. That's really the only time, or if I'm out in the hot tropical sun, if I play tennis, I'll use sunscreen on my face if I know I'm going to be out in really intense sun for a prolonged period of time. And the face tends to be a more sensitive region. But I should mention, I use sunscreen on my face during those times with a thick layer that you can see. So if you go on my Facebook profile, you'll see pictures of me surfing with like a white mask almost on my face around my eyes, because I really want to make sure that I'm not getting blasted with tons of light during that time, because I surf a long time and it's tropical sun. It's very intense. At the same time, I don't use sunscreen anywhere else on my body. The facial skin is more prone to skin aging, and I don't want to use it everywhere because I want to get the full spectrum of sun, and I want to get all those systemic benefits of sunlight. So I walk the line between minimizing facial skin aging and getting the full benefits of sunlight.
This has been a great conversation. There's so many other questions and so much more. I'd love to dive in. I'd love to do part two, where we could do a much deeper dive into some of the physiological effects of red and near infrared light, if you're open to it.
Yeah. Yeah, happy to.
Okay. Well,
the one thing I think I just want to mention briefly, because I think we didn't touch on it, is just to let people know what this is useful for, to let people know what red and near infrared light can do practically for them. And the very brief as I can be, is there's over 6,000 studies now on this for all kinds of things, including obscure things like treating side effects of chemotherapy, like oral mucositis in the mouth, treating diabetic ulcers, all kinds of things. Okay, but there's research on this. Some of the broad categories of things that are very, very well established are wounds and wound healing, whether it's tendons, whether it's skin. It dramatically speeds up the rate of healing of any kind of injury. Skin anti-aging, hair loss treatment, brain health. It's been, there's numerous studies now in the context of neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, showing great benefits there. There's research on depression and anxiety. There's research in the context of enhancing cognitive performance, decreasing pain, joint pain, and other pain syndromes, combating arthritis. Let's see, what else? Hashimoto's, there's several studies, some very impressive studies and extremely impressive animal studies in treating autoimmune hypothyroidism, improving oral health. There are some devices that go and can help with gum health as well. Fighting immunosenescence, aging of the immune system, and acting to help support immune health, and improving bone healing and fractures. The other big one I would say is, and my favorite purpose of it is in the context of training and physical training. So in this context, red and near infrared light therapy are an invaluable tool because they do several key things. Number one, they can enhance your recovery. You can recover faster from the exercise. Number two, they can enhance your performance during the exercise if you use it prior to doing it. Number three, they amplify the adaptations to exercise. So whether we're talking about doing endurance training and increasing endurance adaptations, or whether we're talking about strength adaptations and muscle growth, they do all of it. They also amplify the fat loss benefits, the actual body composition changes, and the hormonal changes that occur with exercise. So for example, improvements in insulin sensitivity that occur from doing exercise when you compare people who just do the exercise routine versus people who do the exercise routine plus do red light therapy on the muscles that they trained after training. They almost double improvements in things like muscle size, strength gains, and improvements, reductions in fat loss, or I should say amount of fat loss, and improvements in insulin sensitivity. So for me, those are some of my primary things. I wear a hat for my hair to help stave off hair loss. It's not going to regrow a full head of hair, but it absolutely slows down hair loss. So if you're a man prone to male pattern baldness and you weren't blessed with great genetics in that department, as I was not blessed with, that's a great use. I use one in my mouth. And the main other thing I use it for personally is after training with weights and other intense exercise to facilitate recovery and adaptations and body composition changes.
That's a long list. That sounds like, well, definitely a longer list than a lot of supplements would carry, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's one of these things I wrote in my book that when you list off all these things, and the list is actually way longer than what I just gave you. When you list off all these things that red and near infrared light therapy can do, you go, how could one therapy operate at all these different systems of the body? This sounds like pseudoscience. You know, it sounds like snake oil. You know, it cures this condition, it cures that condition, it cures everything. You know, it's in the one sense, it sounds sort of absurd to imagine a single treatment modality could possibly be helpful for so many different conditions. But it's really the same as saying, if you eat a good diet, does eating a nutritious diet only act on one system of your body? Does it only act on cancer and your risk of cancer, or does it act on your risk of cancer and your risk of brain diseases and your risk of heart disease and your risk of metabolic syndrome and diabetes and obesity and virtually everything? If you do exercise, does exercise only act on your muscles? Does it only make your muscles stronger and have more endurance? Or does it also massively reduce your risk of heart disease, most cancers, brain diseases, liver disease, on and on and on, virtually every disease possible, right? So what we're looking at is modalities that human beings evolved with that are necessary for systemic health. We evolved to require these things in order for our system to function properly. So it's not surprising that when we use it, it helps virtually every system in our body to function properly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's multifactorial and well, it makes sense. It's a non-negotiable for health, and so many people have gone inside and, you know, we've got windshields that block the light, and we've got windows that block the light, and we've got lifestyles inside, and every excuse to stay out of the outside. You know, the medical communities all, have pronounced doom and gloom around being outside. So we've had this evolution of people very much so misunderstand it, which is why I very much appreciate your book and appreciate your knowledge and sharing with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, would love to do part two when you can, and
sure.
I'll reach out to you for that. And thanks again so much for your time and your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I look forward to our next conversation. I need to have you on my show as well.
Love to.